So if you're in advanced level of your career, there are some truths that you have known that has shaped your perception or that has changed how you used to look at jobs or career growth when you're just starting out in your career. The more you go, we are always being told that elder people can see what we cannot see, and that's why we go for elderly people for advice. But this conversation is actually not about the elderly people. So guys, today's conversation is quite interesting because I want us to have real conversations about growing a career. And for that reason, I want to share what I call the 12 brutal career truth that every person should know. You're out there, you want to build a career, there's some truths that you have to know. And I thought about this conversation, or the motivation for this conversation was about a video that I had with one of my friends. I'll just link that video. You can also see, just to link this conversation I had with one of my friends recently about some of the things that we wish we knew before we started our careers. Yeah, and we shared very amazing truths. And it's an important conversation because it will shift how you think about career growth. So if this is a conversation that you want to be part of, if you want to learn more about what are these brutal career truths, what is it that I need to learn that will shift and change my perspective about how I look at my career or how I look at career growth, then I'm sure you want to stick with me in this conversation till the end. But before we get into this video, guys, I want to give a special shout out to Ghene women wear for dressing me today. You see this amazing green top, the amazing black pants. They have dressed me. And guys, if you're a lady out there looking to look as fabulous as I look in this video today, then call the number on the screen. I'll also leave the link to their social media platforms in the description of this video. And for all your attires, you want to if you're going to work, you're going for a party, you're going for a girls meeting, feel free to talk to them. So guys, let's get to the business of the day. So my first brutal truth is that for you to grow in your career or even in your current job, you must always find something that will differentiate you from the crowd. At your workplace, if you continue behaving the same as everyone else, it will not be easy even for your boss or even for your company to pick out something that is unique about you that will make you attract opportunities for promotion. So you must always find something that will differentiate you. You must always differentiate yourself from the crowd. It could be how you talk, being good in your communication. It could be how you deliver on your work, being an exceptional executor. It could be how you relate with your colleagues, having great interpersonal skills. But you must always find something that differentiates you from the rest of the team members and be consistent at displaying that. My truth number 2 is that it is not always all the time that your paycheck will match your efforts. But still, you have to do the work as required. In this channel we have very brutal and very bold conversation. So it is not always all the time that your paycheck will reflect what you're doing at work. It is not all the time that you will be paid commensurate to the work that you're doing, but still you're required to do the job. So here's the thing. I see so many people, of course, I am not shying away from the fact that it can be demotivating to do a lot of work, yet you get very little for it. I am cognizant of that. But the truth is, as you grow along in your career, there's sometimes that you will be in jobs that pay you less, be in jobs that you feel you're putting too much effort and the compensation is not commensurate. But because we want to grow, and I'm a big believer of starting from somewhere. So it is not all the time that the pay is going to be attractive, but you have to put in the work. That is how you grow. So if you don't pick anything from this conversation, pick this brutal truth number 3, which says Sometimes you'll find yourself doing things that are not in your job description, and it is okay. And this just links a bit to the point two that I talked about, your paycheck not always matching what you're doing. It is not all the times that you're going to do things that are aligned to your JFD, because most of the time I see people say, people don't want to go an extra mile, but that is not what I was hired to do. But that is not what my contract says. I promise you, with that mentality, growing will be very hard. Today, I know most of you may not like this conversation because they are brutal truths. There are things we face every day in the workplace. But I am here to encourage you. I am here to talk about the reality on the things that happen in the workplace, and to help you build a rewarding and fulfilling career. So it is not all the time you're going to do the things that are in your JD, but still you're expected to work and deliver to the expected standards. So be open-minded, be willing to take extra duties, be willing to go an extra mile in your work in the place that you find yourself in. And really, that is how you really grow very quickly. My brutal truth number 4 is that sometimes the best move is not to move at all. What I mean here is that of course, if you're keen, you see that people move very fast. And I think for some industries, even if you check the tenure, it's like 1 year. People change jobs within 1 year. But I have thought about it and really come to a conclusion that sometimes most of the moves that we make are really premature. So I always advise people that unless you feel that there's no opportunity for you to grow internally, the best decision or the best move sometimes is not to move at all. So whenever you get into a job, you really need to understand why you looked for that job and what skill you want to develop in that job. Give yourself a goal. Like, if you get into any job, you need to give yourself a goal like, I want to be in this job for 2 years and this is what I want to accomplish. So before you accomplish that and you make a decision to move, then that move is not necessary unless otherwise. And also, I know sometimes we exhibit a lot of impatience. You get to the workplace, not every time things are going to be as you expected, but it is important that you practice the art of patience. You practice the art of endurance. I'm not telling you to survive toxic workplaces, but evaluate yourself. All the moves that you've made in the last 4 years, in the last 3 years, were they worth it? So one truth that I've come to learn is that sometimes the best move is not to move at all, especially if you have not achieved what you wanted to achieve in that particular role. Brutal point number 5 is that separating personal and workplace issues will save you a lot of frustration. I have seen people struggle with separating work and personal life, personalizing work, sharing everything about their personal life at work, and you walk into the office and everyone else knows about who you're married to, where you're married, how many children you have. No. Learn to separate work and personal life. It will save you from so many things. Always sharing what you cook at home, what you eat, what happens in your house. The people that you hang out with outside work. So one thing I have learned over time in my career is that separating work and personal life is the real deal of professional maturity. So if you struggle with this, please be very intentional about it. Learn to separate work and personal life. And also learn to not personalize work. Because let me give you an example. Sometimes I find that when we are corrected, we personalize. I always say that as long as someone has not insulted you, they have not crossed your boundary, they are just maybe correcting you or telling you to do your work, then there's no need to throw emotions, throw tantrums here and there. So learning to separate work and personal life will save you from so many frustrations. The next brutal truth is that your colleagues are not your friends, and do not treat them as so. It is so easy to become friends with people in the workplace. Why? Because it is in the workplace where we spend so many hours of our 24 hours and so many hours of our days. So anyway, naturally it is so easy to get connected. It's so easy to get attracted. It's so easy to get so much into your colleagues. But please remember that they're not your friends, and do not treat them as so. They're not your friends. So as I said, do not share what they do not need to know. Do not expose yourself to them. Do not be vulnerable to your colleagues, because they're not your friends. So if you're not going to take anything from this video, please remember that your colleagues are not your friends, and do not treat them as so. The next brutal truth is that your competition is always yourself, not your colleagues. And now do not be a victim of workplace competition. This one is very common. We want to dress like our colleagues. We want to drive the cars that our colleagues drive. If you're getting yourself here for the first time, this channel, we speak the truth. Very brutal, very bold conversations. So we want to drive the cars that our colleagues drive. It is okay to drive the car that they drive if you can afford it, but please don't break your bones because you want to look like them. We want to carry the same bags that they carry. It's perfectly okay. You can wear the same shoes that they wear. You can put on this the same outfit that they put on. You can look as pretty as they do. If you can afford it, well and good, but don't fall to the workplace pressure because you want to look as they do. You want to have or own property as they do. You do not know, you only know your story. You do not know someone else's story. You only know your sources of income. You do not know someone else's sources of income. So be you and do not fall to the pressure of workplace competition. Then next thing, and here is for you, if you always say that I don't care what people think about me, I don't care what they say, please, you need to care, because decisions about you are made by people and you need to have a good relationship with people. So my brutal truth here is that key decisions about your career will be made by people. Decisions about your promotions are made by people. So you need to have and be very intentional about having good relationship with people. So if you're still at the level where you say, I don't care about what they think about me, it's okay not to care. But if you're in the workplace or if you're in the corporate space, you may want to care about what people think about you. You may want to care about how people perceive you, especially when it comes to doing your work. So key decisions about you are made by people, and you owe people everything. You owe people good conduct. You owe people good manners. You owe people respect. And you have to be very intentional about building a good relationship with people at the workplace. The next brutal truth, guys, is that your attitude will determine your next level than your experience and qualifications will ever do. Did you get what I said? Your attitude is key when it comes to determining how far you can go in the workplace. Poor attitude, you will remain where you are. Bad attitude towards people, bad mouthing, gossiping, always being in the wrong companies will affect your growth. So your attitude will determine your next level more than your experience and skills will ever do. So please watch on your attitude. How do you handle people? How do you relate with people? How do you talk about people? How do you behave? How do you carry out yourself? It's very important because it will determine your next level more than your experience and your qualifications will ever do. The next one is that a strong network will give you jobs more than your qualifications and your experience will ever do. So networking, we always talk about it. Professional networking is very key. Please take this into consideration that your network is your net worth. So be very deliberate about networking with the right people. Be very consistent in maintaining a good relationship or an active communication with your network. Don't just create a network and drop people like that once they've helped you to get to the next level. So be very great at networking. I've spoken about networking so many times. Be very intentional about networking because your network will actually determine how far you can go than your professional skills, than your experience can ever determine. The next one, and please guys don't throw stones at me, this one is very, very real, is that your personal growth is your sole responsibility. 100%, not the employers, not your colleagues. So I know most of the time we say one of the things when we're looking for a job, we look for development opportunities, which is amazing. But you find even in workplaces, some workplaces, they're there, but we don't take up the initiatives. We have great learning platforms, but we never take up the initiatives to learn. So your personal growth is your sole responsibility. The employer can only support you, but they'll never do it for you. So be very deliberate and very intentional about growing yourself, about personal growth, about upskilling, about registering yourself for relevant courses, about going back to school, about learning from your colleagues, about grabbing any learning opportunity in the workplace, because it is your sole responsibility and not the employer's. And my next, or rather my last brutal truth will scare you because it's scary, is that always know you're dispensable. Everyone else is in the workplace, as long as you're in a business that is not yours, but that doesn't mean that you should not do the work. that doesn't mean that you should not do a good job. That doesn't mean that you should not deliver on your work. So always know that you are dispensable. If you leave that, you can leave that work and that business will not die. That business will not go down. I see people say that sometimes, when resign, especially when people resign with a lot of emotions, you'll see people say like, if I leave here, they will see. If I leave here, this company will fall. Come on, the company will not fall. So always know that you're dispensable. The best that you can ever do for yourself is to prepare yourself for opportunities, to upskill, to position yourself well in the market for opportunities, because always you'll be dispensable and the company will always run whether you're there or not. With all due humility, that is the truth, and you should take care of yourself also at all costs. Yeah, so those are the 12 brutal truths that I wanted to discuss with you people, because it is always very important to know the truth. And as you know, here we are all about making ourselves better for those rewarding and fulfilling careers that we so desire. So I hope this video has opened your eyes on how you need to conduct yourself, how you need to be very intentional about building your career, just knowing that building the lucrative and the rewarding career that you deserve or that you desire is your sole responsibility. So from today, please take charge and take responsibility. Thank you for watching once again. If you've not subscribed, this is the right time for you to click that subscribe button and join this community where we're all about learning and making ourselves better. Thank you. Until next time. Bye-bye.